Okay, first of all, thanks for coming. My name's Brian Kishnick. I'm the city manager, and we have a brief introduction by me and a presentation by Gibbs Planning on the concept of the plan that we're here to talk about tonight. And Matt Farrell from CORE is also over here to give a short presentation. I want to just start out by saying this is a very large crowd, and we're very happy with that. The library on Saturday was a great start and had a great turnout, so it's great to see everybody here. We are literally here to listen and get your feedback. We did 6 or 10 town hall sessions before and had a give and take. Some were small groups, some were large groups, and there tended to be a lot of conversation from a few people. And so this is a chance to get feedback from every single person in the room. I know some people don't like the idea that we're not taking questions, but the reality is we want to hear from you and get your feedback, and then we're going to answer the questions as we have obtained them over the last 2 meetings. So don't put your stickies on yet. We'll have after the presentations, we'll all move around, and then I'll go through all the boards. And the boards are, if I could just find them over here, I believe, is likes and dislikes. So on your sticky notes, and you know, write it down anytime. What do you dislike? I see there's already some stuff there. All right, so just give us a chance to at least Anyway, it's great, folks. We really do. So dislikes about the concept, likes about the concept, and then over here we have ideas about this concept, and we have over here behind Toby unanswered questions. So, and feel free to put your sticky and 5 stickies in different places, and then I'll go over each board, and then we'll adjourn, and there'll be a full report, because this is the second and last meeting we're going to have at the direction of the city council to get the feedback and then put a report together, send it to city council, and then the direction will be determined from there by the city council. And that's who determines if there are next steps, what their next steps are, what next steps there aren't. There are no preconceived notions about this plan, this concept, and really that's all it is. So we want to make sure everyone is aware of that and what the process is. Okay, so with that, this whiteboard right here, I ask people to write on there, what method of communication do you think we should use to get you here? So obviously something happened with the communication. So it got out to so other than the normal, right, Troy Times, so just write it up here. We don't have all the answers on any of this. So, and ideas, if you have an idea for a meeting format, write it under ideas. I'm always willing to try something different, and this is something different than the summer town hall meetings. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on the overview of vacant commercial buildings, but it was brought up at several meetings that, why doesn't this project go on different properties that the city has that are vacant? So I just want to show you, here's the old Kmart Headquarters. It's owned by Forbes, and we have no control over this. Yeah, so they're up on the screens, and then at that big screen down there. So this is several acres, 40, and there are no plans. I talked to Nate Forbes as early as the end of last week, and he said he's very comfortable with me saying publicly that they have no plans. So, but it's not like government can come in and tell them what to do. That's the issue. So, and you have this slide presentation all we should have it for everyone at the table. So if you don't have one, see Kelly Molinar over there. So the KMAX building, the Met Hotel, no activity. Mr. Pita, this will be, the Planning Commission approved a IHOP and Panda Express. Brent, you with me? Yep. And then Taco Bell, there are no plans there. One of the most blighted properties probably in Troy on Rochester Road. Papa Vino's is being reskinned right now for a new restaurant. And then there's some additional sample properties in transition. So I just wanted to get that out there. Those are some of the projects, some of the buildings that we see, and we try to do something about. We try to work with the owners, and Mark Miller and Glenn Lapin are in the back there who head up that charge. So there are several council members here. So council members, just for Mayor Slater's here. There's David Hamilton, Ed Pennington, what's the name? Dave Henderson. And then planning commissioners. Planning commission is a big part of all this process. So if you're a planning commissioner, raise your hand, because okay, Don Edmonds, Karen Cruz, okay, Tom Krant, Faison, Padma, okay, a resident architect. Thank you. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Farrell, and he's going to give a brief presentation followed by the Gibbs Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt Farrell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Core Partners. We are the orange, obnoxious-looking commercial real estate signs scattered around Southeast Michigan. Was born and raised in Troy and have lived my entire life in Oakland County, and professionally have worked in the business market for the commercial real estate sector, moving companies in and out of Troy for a better part of my career. We're based in Bingham Farms. We have approximately 130 employees. We do development, consulting, brokerage, and property management. The reason why I'm here is to give you a brief overview of what's occurred over the last 2± years of planning and bringing the professionals together, and the steps that have gone through to get this concept to the current place that it is. The city of Troy saw an opportunity with land and assets that they owned, and was educated by outside sources of other marketplaces to the concepts of walkability, urban, mixed use, and other type developments, and brought Gibbs Planning and our group together to help put a sense of process and reality to creating a vision, and also putting metrics and numbers to those concepts. Tonight, as a brief overview, we know where Michigan is, everybody in this room, and we know we have the unique benefit of being in Oakland County, Michigan, which is still labeled as one of the wealthiest counties in the United States, and is AAA bonded. Inside Oakland County, Troy, Michigan, also AAA bonded. How many people in the room believe that that's of great value for those here? It's enormous. Thanks to Brooks Patterson, thanks to Oakland County, thanks to everybody that plays a part in maintaining that, the city of Troy has the unique benefit of being able to borrow dollars and service their necessities at great low cost of capital, which results in low tax base. It's a major, major benefit of retaining and attracting. A+ rated schools. How many believe that that's a huge attribute of Troy? 100%. That's the reason why your houses stay occupied, why your houses sell for good values, and why people want to live, work, and play within the city of Troy. 125,000 daytime approximate employees, world-class shopping nearby Somerset collection. Do we have great shopping? Yes. Do we have the other side of shopping as well? Yes, we do. Retail's changing. Everybody agree with that? Amazon effect? Unfortunately, we learned something this week that we didn't know at the last presentation. What was that? Why? What was the number one reason? Limited talent pool. That was the number one reason. We have no population growth. That's a huge, huge, huge factor. And limited talent pool was the reason why we weren't shortlisted in the top 20. Keep that in mind as we go forward. One of the lowest tax rates in the county. Is that a benefit? Absolutely. and the safest city in Michigan. I can't emphasize this enough. I believe this is one of the key factors as to what keeps Troy extremely relevant and viable in the business community and in the residential community, because people want to live where they feel safe, comforted, where their investment is safe and comforted, and their kids are taken care of. Oop. Let's do a little backwards arrow on that one. All right, so jumping into the site. Don't mean to make you sick here. There we go. Let's try it one more time. There we go. So the site itself is approximately 127 acres, corner of Main and Main, or Big Beaver and I-75. It is current home to the City Hall, the Public Library, the Troy Police Department, the 52nd 4th District Court, the Troy Community Center, the Family Aquatic Center, the Troy Racquet Club, and the Troy Skate Park. It is neighboring and abutting to the Troy Marriott DMC Children's Hospital, the many Class A office buildings, as well as Columbia Center and Liberty Center. All right, for one quick moment, I want to talk about the potential. So everybody can see the screen here. This is downtown Birmingham. How many people in the room have enjoyed downtown Birmingham for shopping, restaurants, or lifestyle? How many believe that it's one of the more viable mixed-use walking communities in Southeast Michigan? That for whatever reason, it's found that equilibrium and that balance point between residential, commercial, and living, and commercial. And it's true. It has issues today, though. It has a parking crisis. And there's office space that isn't full because there's limited parking. But one benefit is they still offer free parking for the first 2 hours, unlike a lot of other communities around the country, including some others in Southeast Michigan. In that box, that's approximately 108 acres comprised of 424 multifamily units, just under 80 office properties at 1.8 million square feet, and 95 retail properties. How many decades, years, purchases, sales, transactions, businesses moving in, businesses moving out, employees being hired have gone into making Birmingham what it is today? Let your mind think about a lot over a long period of time. Now let me shift to another community that most of us in the room probably are aware of, downtown Royal Oak. How many believe that this is a good, viable, working downtown urban community? I think it works relatively well. Wouldn't say it's perfect. It has its challenges. I don't see any green space in that map. There's not a lot of parkland. It's a lot of concrete jungle. There's not a lot of office space, which is a challenge. There's too many bars, too many restaurants, and not enough daytime traffic. That's a challenge for Royal Oak. They know this, and they're getting out ahead of it, and right now most of the developments are office related because they need that daytime traffic to help find that equilibrium. In that box right there that comprises about 106 acres is 606 multifamily units, 27 office properties, and 107 retail facilities, just by scale and perspective. And to come into the potential, keyword potential, concept and or opportunity in front of this community is 127 acres that you could take either one of those cities, put them in, and have excess space around it. Isn't that hard to fathom, that there's, by scale and by size, all of Birmingham could go into that box and we'd still have excess space. All of Royal Oak could go in that box and still have excess space. So with that, I want to transition over into the concept that has been created, but know what has gone in the last 2 years is traveling the country with stakeholders of the community, sitting in town hall sessions 8 times over, but also bringing the council, the planning commission, and civic leaders into planning sessions where the first concept, there were 6 different iterations. That was marked up to 4 iterations. That was marked up to 2 iterations. One was very large. One was slightly more subdued than what you see today. Those went to a pricing model for concept and viability, resulting in certain aspects that we felt were maybe over the top or under what could be served. And it was middled out to a more conservative model that was designed here that Dave will walk you through from Gibbs Planning. It is a concept. There are no buyers in place. There are no developers in place looking at this point in time. It is purely concept. But the thing that it tries to answer is a couple key factors that Troy is challenged with today. Do we have walkability in Troy? We don't. We really don't. Do we have an urban lifestyle or urban living component in Troy? We really don't. And the challenge is we're not attracting our postgraduate education force, the college grads or the high school grads to live, work, stay, and play in Troy. And we're not maintaining and retaining our retirees who are downsizing out of the standard Troy housing stock into a smaller retiree housing quality product. So what this project really is not a commercial development. It is a housing, multifamily, urban, walkable, mixed-use development that's really poised towards residential and the opportunity to fill those two voids within the city. It is a concept, and I'll turn it over. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Matt. And I think while we're changing the presentation over, one thing that I do want to touch on is sort of the forward-thinking approach that was employed by your civic leaders in doing this the way other communities don't. And a lot of other communities go to developers first and say, what would you build here? And in that model, the developer gets to choose. This was the community leaders saying what we think belongs here and what drives the most civic value. So I think that's a really important distinction and something to be proud of. But we were charged as planners and developers, or designers, to come up with a concept that brought a walkable development to Troy. And we've been building walkable developments for thousands of years and over 300 years in this country. It's nothing new, but there are some very important guiding principles. And we designed this according to traditional town planning principles. It's an old science, but it's also something that's happening more recently. Easton Town Center was one of the more recent town centers to be built, but it was kind of the first of its kind in the country where, sort of like Troy, with about a 200-acre site, an urban place was created. And this practice is still going on today at a place like Avalon Town Center, which was completed about 2 years ago. Avalon is probably one of the more sought-after living destinations in Atlanta and has some of the nicest shopping in the whole region. What makes a town center different is that it has an elevated public realm. This is about a civic component. Without a public realm, it's just a shopping center. Without a public realm, it's just a subdivision. So the most important principle through this whole design was creating a vibrant public realm that feels like it's owned by the community, not just a couple people who have a house here or the retailer who owns a shop here, but it's a place that's inviting for the whole community and welcome to be used by the whole community. This project responds to Troy's demographics. A couple of key things here. You've got 14,000 folks that are over the age of 65. You've got 20,000 households that have no children at all. And you've got 4,200 folks that are 20 to 24. For most of these people, the traditional single-family home, 2,000 square feet on a large lot, isn't always practical. They want a variety of options, whether that's a townhome, a small lot home close to a coffee shop that they can walk to, close to shopping they can walk to. Those are the kind of features that these consumers are looking for today and is not found en masse in Troy. There are a lot of small developments that are starting to get to that, but nothing that creates a critical mass of these really desirable features. It's also important to note that you've got 1,300 households without a car. Just about everywhere in Troy you need to drive to get there. And so a key thing here is creating a place where you don't have to drive to get there. The town center combines a couple of land uses, and by definition, a town center combines 3 to 4 land uses, key among them residential, and a variety of residential types, ranging from what we call a stack flat apartment building to townhomes, to single-family homes and apartments. Combines commercial, some walkable storefronts. In order to have a walkable community, you need things to walk to walk along, and commercial provides a lot of that. Again, a strong civic element. The first thing we did when we designed this site was reserved the most important places for civic uses, so that they didn't go to the highest bidder, they would remain in the hands of Troy. And again, you combine all these things with a very strong public realm, and you create what we call a town center. And town centers come in all shapes and sizes. We surveyed a number of them. My firm has worked on about 200 of these town centers throughout the country and in the world to some extent. And the best town centers mix all of these land uses in a creative way that generates value for the community and increases the quality of life. One of the key things you have here, and why this property was worth studying, was that you have some great existing amenities, and that is your already civic uses that are here, including the city hall, the police station, the courthouse. These are things we try and convince developers to put into new developments. We try and talk them into libraries. We try and talk them into a post office because we know it creates the kind of place people want to live. And you already have that here. As Matt sort of showed you, here's our site, about 127 acres. And in blue, you can see the existing buildings that are here. And the community center's on the right side, where we are right now. Here they are today, and one of the things we wanted to do was preserve all of these buildings in their existing place, not unnecessarily tearing down things, swiping the slate clean and starting all over. We wanted to take what's here and what's been here for 40 and 50 years and enrichen it. As Matt kind of briefly said, the site here can accomplish so much. This is the village of Rochester, which is probably one of the first walkable town centers. Or it was the first walkable town center in Michigan and one of the first in the Midwest. Quite successful, and one of the things we learned, we designed this, was the day it opened, the mayor of Rochester looked at my boss, Bob, and said, I wish we would have added apartments. And it's just not something you can do after the fact. After it's built, you can't go back and do that. But that was one of the first lessons we learned here. And as Matt showed, downtown Birmingham could, of course, fit on the site. Now, you do have some existing public space, but by and large, I would say it's underutilized at best. These open fields here, try and think of the last time you saw someone picnicking out there. It just doesn't happen very much. There isn't much of a reason to use it, and it doesn't get used. And in fact, if you look at this map, because it is so impractical to get here any other way than by driving, you've actually given up much of your open space to parking, to surface parking lots, which are probably the most inefficient and unproductive land uses you can have. But it's been, of course, out of necessity as a way for people to get here and to be able to enjoy the civic amenities you have here. This is just a diagram of the public space you have, and you'll see that almost all of it is retained in the concept. Not only is it retained, but it's designed and placed in a way and placed next to other uses that will allow it to become more vibrant, to enable folks to use it, to want to use it, to be there, where you can have people laying out and sunbathing, riding their bike through here, or just sitting out and reading. We want to create the value of place that is so desired by so many people in this community. And this is where you can see that image would end up, is in this wonderful pond that we would have, and we reserved a future civic building to be overlooking this pond in what would be probably one of the most picturesque places in southeastern Michigan if it were to be completed. Huber Park is retained. We do not impede Huber Park. We do place some of the aquatic amenities into there, but no encroaching on its current boundaries. And in fact, what we're calling for, what the plan calls for, is restoring the ecology of Huber Park. An analysis that was completed during the planning found that there's a lot of invasive species, and the park is no longer functioning as it once did. And for that reason, it's not being used very much. So here is the amount of open space that gets preserved. If you switch between this is what's current and this is what's proposed, you see that almost all of it is preserved in the final plan, and preserved in a way that creates some value. This is an existing, what I would call a drain at this point, the Red Run Drain, which is where a lot of our stormwater goes. And the plan calls for elevating this to something a little more picturesque, something that you would like to walk along, something that's, that creates ecology where species can exist. This is actually in Celebration, Florida. And if you ever get a chance to go, it's wonderful because you have all these birds flying around, all these wildflowers growing, and it's just a wonderful place to walk. I can't imagine really enjoying the walk along the drain today. Central to the town center is a town square, and that's what you see right here in the middle. This would become the civic icon of the community. I know that you already have a Christmas tree lighting, but this would almost be where the Christmas tree lighting now happens, where everyone gathers for the holidays and for the big events. And here's a rendering of what that could look like with shops on the first floor and residential units above it, and at the far end would be that future Civic building. For scale, this is from Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills, but this is essentially what this could look like in the future. And of course, an active street front with shops, places to dine, things to do, places to go to. That creates value for the residential that's already there and creates value for the folks that are visiting. Imagine going to the library, but then also wanting to grab a cup of coffee, or to grab lunch, or to meet a friend at a store. That all becomes possible when you mix uses in this kind of town center. You could accommodate a variety of shops, and of course, everything here would be maintained at an exceptional caliber. This would be a cherished place, a valued place, with a very strong and landscaped public realm. And places to play. This doesn't necessarily appeal just to adults. We want to accommodate all walks of life, from the very young to the very old. And of course, we've got parks and open spaces for kids to play, and a splash pad for them to gather as well. Much like you see here in Shane Park. Our office is overlooked Shane Park, and during the summertime, it's filled with people just reading or having their lunch. But it becomes a focal point for the community. And right now you have open space, which is great, but what more could it become and still maintain open space? This is the Veterans Square that's proposed. At the end there you see the existing City Hall with a new facade on it, but this wonderful square where you have the monuments that you already have existing, and then you flank it by shops in a way that generates a little bit more activity, invites people into this space to enjoy the wonderful amenities that you have here. And of course, the residential component. We work for a number of developers here in Michigan and really throughout the country, and housing needs are changing. There are so many folks that are trying to downsize from their existing homes, but they don't have adequate choices. They want to stay in their community, but their community is largely single-family homes without the amenities they need, like a first-floor master bedroom. This brings a lot of this type of housing into the community in a meaningful way. Here's just a rendering of what that housing could look like. Of course, multifamily housing, which is another thing, what Matt mentioned in terms of attracting the younger generation. folks my age and younger aren't rushing to buy houses, mostly because they've got student loans they're paying off and can't necessarily afford the down payment. So they're looking for places to rent. And this provides a place where they can rent, but also be in that lively environment that is generating so much excitement in Royal Oak and in Detroit. You could have that here. This is Birkdale Village, where you've got townhomes and apartments on top of retail. And it's a place that we visited with some of your officials, and it was just wonderful to be able to see people walk out of their door to run an errand. They didn't need to get into their car to go get a loaf of bread or to grab a cup of coffee. They could just walk out of their front door and get it. So as Matt said, we ran through a couple of different options, and ultimately, as shown, what could be accommodated at the site would be 25 cottage homes, 100 townhomes, and 725 apartments. This is an aerial view of what this could look like developed. At the end, you would see a hotel. We see a need for some additional hotel rooms here. But as you can look here, it's organized in a way where there's a lot of open space, a variety of open spaces, and really a place for everyone in the community to come and enjoy this place. Overall, the development program, as shown, 850 dwelling units, 180,000 square feet of ground floor commercial, and that 300-room hotel. We did go through a number of alternatives. We showed your elected officials 6, but we really did probably about 20 in-house, where we just did all the different things that we thought could be accommodated. So this was really a process of refining things and coming to what we felt was the best option that incorporated all of the things that are desired and demanded by the demographics of this community. This was a much more intense option that probably could have accommodated nearly 3,000 residential units and 250,000 square feet of retail. But of course, we, over time, tried to find that middle ground of what might be the most appropriate and the most likely to succeed. And again, at the end of the day, this is about creating vibrant public spaces, places where your kids can take their homecoming pictures, where you want to go and just sit, enjoy a coffee, and watch folks playing. That's really what this type of town center is about. Without a great public realm, again, it's just a shopping center. It's just a subdivision. Combining them in a real thoughtful way is what creates a really vibrant place. That's it.
Thank you, Dave. So hopefully that gives you enough of a primer to be able to take some notes and likes and dislikes, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and hopefully you have some ideas. Before we get up and do that part of the exercise, I noticed something different about this group than many of the other groups, and so there's some young people here. How did you find out about this? Hold on, you need the mic because it's being videotaped. Who wants to go?
Well, some of us are taking an AP Gov class at Troy High School, and so we're always encouraged to visit. Actually, that one, he told me about this, and so I got dragged along. And now that I'm here, I'm glad because it's really interesting.
So what you just said was, this is a great opportunity on a Wednesday night to be here. That's what I heard. So thanks for coming, you guys. Even if it is a class, once people get here, they realize, the information and that we try to get out. So I want to talk about, before we get up, a green space initiative that the City Council has directed staff to work with the Parks and Rec committee and develop a subcommittee And their next meeting is February 1st. Really, it's the first meeting, February 1st, 6 p.m. in the council boardroom. And if you want to be part of that, see Kelly in the back, Kelly Molinar, and just give her a sticky with your contact name and contact information. There's a lot of people. So Tim McGee is the chair of that committee, and he's sitting back there. So it's a green space committee. It's green space initiative, and we'll be looking at green space citywide, not as part of this project. It just, green space became is a big issue and a big concern for a lot of people, and the city council is certainly interested in green space. So with that, I want everyone to get up and take your stickies and put them on the appropriate poster. With this many people, if you run out of poster room, just stick it on the wall. All right, we'll take about 20 minutes, and then we'll reconvene. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start reading these off. So if everybody could stay with me, and I'll try to get through these quickly. I'm going to start with likes and then go to dislikes. And with your indulgence, I will read as many on here as possible before I move on. With this many people in the room, I think after the meeting you can come up and read. We will be cataloging all these comments, as well as it's already been done from the last meeting. That report will go to City Council, and it will be on the website, so you'll be able to read everything. But I'm going to read some, and then I'll ask if anybody wants to comment on any of them that I read off. So real quickly, this is likes. You are so right that many older residents will be looking for smaller homes and the amenities and conveniences this will offer. Walkability of a city center, keeping a lot of current green space. Everything, keep emphasizing equivalent green space now and in the concept plan. It's inspirational that amenities for senior citizens, retired citizens be provided. It's imperative, sorry. Reference recent projects in landscape. Some European models are enticing. Opportunity, consider experiments in Canton and Plymouth that didn't work, the lessons learned. Opportunity, underground parking. Improve transportation using automobiles, vehicles, or buses or rail, like the overlays of other cities, approaching planners, designers prior to the developers. Opportunity, water features are weak. Come on, you can do better. I think that's a dislike. Is there an area for concerts and farmers markets? So there will be a farmers market in Troy. Cindy Stewart is in the back. It'll be on Fridays at the library parking lot, and see her for more information so that I continue to move on. I'm excited about Troy becomes the city of tomorrow today, the way our model says we are. I like the whole concept, love it, create jobs. Good presentation, nice pics of other town centers, tennis courts, restaurants. Love this project, please go for this. Like the size of the project, please go forward. Does transit center come into play with the development, and how? I think that's an unanswered question. Traffic congestion in and around town center, public transportation in town center, retail competes with Somerset. I think that's a dislike too. What is appropriate approximate project start date? This is probably the one I should really emphasize, because the entire city council is now here. Edna Abraham walked in, and Ellen Hoderick walked in, and Ethan Baker just walked in. But there is no timetable. This is simply a concept, and we keep emphasizing that the city council is interested in the feedback from everybody in this room and other places. So there's no timetable, there's no shovels in the ground, there's no developers. We put out a request for qualifications that the city council then rescinded, and it's not going forward at this point. And that is just to see if there's any developers across the country, locally, who are A, interested in considering this project, and B, that they have the wherewithal to even do it, right? So there's no timetable. I just get that out there. Times are changing, need more housing choices. I like the ideas presented in the presentation, way to go. Town center is great, get rid of condos and single family homes. I appreciate that mixed use, walkable, in an attractive concept. I like the idea of some retail and the green areas, but seems like Troy just keeps adding housing instead of areas for current residents. Anybody else want to comment on likes? Does anybody want to comment on likes? I have to get the microphone to you though because we are taping this. It's our way of getting it out to you as well.
Hello, my name's Aaron. There's a meeting at it's starting just about in 5 minutes, right across the street at the library.
Aaron, this is not the time.
I want to bring up about the town center and happiness. The true epidemic, opioid epidemic is loneliness. The mask is drug use. Loneliness happens when an individual is cut off from any meaningful and viable culture. If there is no cultural experiences to be a part of, an individual will experience with their own waking life. Some individuals will even check themselves into mental health institutions just to experience culture and to be around other people, however that may be, just as we are here today. We've built our landscape for cars, not people. The people have been excluded from the automotive-dominated landscape, which has left whole swaths of the population isolated and slowly cut off from any meaningful culture. Today, I'm going to the Town Center Talks. I made this note earlier, so today I'm going to the Town Center Talks to encourage the people to demand places for people, places for culture and human experience, as opposed to places for cars and heavy machinery. We can curb the loneliness and the inevitable drug use that ensues because of it by affording meaningful places to live and experience life and happiness.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So anybody else on likes? Anybody talk about likes? Okay. Let me go to dislikes. Dislikes. Infrastructure ready for residents parking. Water features are weak. Come on, you can. Oh, I already read that one. Are citizens paying for it? This is concept only, not telling us everything. Dislikes selling off our most valuable property too soon. Chain restaurants, retail, livability, bankruptcy, hotels equal crime. Too much emphasis on apartment homes rather than home owner-owned residences. People move to Troy for the schools. This development is intended to attract people without school-age children. This will change the makeup of Troy. Why do we want this? Add more cottage homes. There is a greater need. Move hotels off-site and no B&B, no Airbnb. Okay. How many current zoning laws will you violate to build this monster? Has the Planning Commission been involved? Too dense, crime will increase our taxes, potential rodent invasion. It will make Troy another city and not suburban. Other property values will go up. Not really well-owned community like co-living can have farmers market instead. No single-story homes, probable congestion of parking and traffic. We subsidize a new, I think it's why should we subsidize a new development? Why did the new Rain Tree subdivision not be small housing? Do not need any stores and hotels or homes. I just like the whole project. We need parkland and recreation more than more development. There are several large sites for development sitting vacant in Troy. Rental costs projected for apartments $1,900. I assume that's a month. Current amber 2-bedroom on Crooks. What is wrong with the current Aquatic Center? Why don't you spend our tax dollars more wisely? Too many apartments, no ownership. Would like to see higher homes, town cottages. Maintenance headache, snow and trucks falling on I-75. Who will own the land? Pool, tennis courts, and community center need to be located together and share parking. The lot as drawn is inadequate, and community residents will be excluded. Pond, because it attracts geese, are there options for just a stream? Are you keeping the skate park? What and how much parking will there be for the general Troy population who don't live there? Will it be adequate and free? Where are the one-story homes with first-floor masters for people wanting to downsize? What sort of input do you have from prospective developers? Library, which is paid for through property taxes, no longer has dedicated parking adjacent waiting for shoe to drop where parking structure is metered. This concept will not attract young people to move to or stay in Troy. They will likely not be able to afford to live in this development. Parking concerns, traffic concerns. We don't want to be Royal Oak, Birmingham, Atlanta, Columbus. We want to be Troy. Small, not more traffic and people. Why encourage more transient living in our beautiful bedroom community? Don't see any overall design theme. Seems like a land giveaway to developers. Once the city gives the land away, it is gone forever. Why is this not being done electronically? We should be able to track questions to ensure total disclosure and tracking. Okay. Anybody want to say anything? Anyone want to add to that? Yeah, thanks. No, we need the microphone because we're taping this. Here you go.
Is that related to the Troy Charter amendment that we had in election 2017?
Is what related?
There was this like proposal that.
No, this is about the concept plan that's presented tonight. The charter amendment from last year encompassed more than that. But the question does come up: will this be put to a vote of the people? If this concept goes forward, and I can't speak for the council, but there's been a lot of conversation about that. So, if I make a living out of not telling people, not saying what 7 people that I work for are going to do, but if I had to bet, I'd say they put it to a vote of the people. But that's just me talking. I don't get a vote. I probably shouldn't have said that.
As a senior citizen, I'm concerned about affordable senior, one-story living, and I don't see that in that concept at all. And there isn't any place in Troy where we can go that we can afford.
I agree.
You read about half of my note up there. I have 2 millennials, highly educated. They couldn't live here. The projected rent for the average new apartments is $1,900. I called the Amber Apartments on Crooks Road. For their 2 bedrooms, they run $950 to $1,025. So that's way out of their price.
Okay. She said it's out of the price range of millennials, right? That was what you're saying. Okay.
We have 14,000 plus seniors. We are in this building they refer to as a senior center. They've taken the senior sign off the parking lot in the back where all the handicapped is. And if they get a chance to rent our room in here, our group is moved to another room that is smaller. This is not a community center because the rooms are rented too much. This is a business center for Troy businesses. Check it out during the day.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else? Oh, Pam.
What I haven't seen here is how cars and people will be able to get across I-75 ingress, egress along Big Beaver and along the other areas where there is major heavy traffic.
All right, so that's, did you put anything up, Pam? Okay, so I'll just record it back there as an unanswered question, right? Anybody else? I'm on dislikes. Okay, sorry.
Hi, I would like to know if the urban planner, Mr. Gibbs, is so good. Why wouldn't he develop a plan and not move the aquatic center? Why would you move a $20 million aquatic center not far over and put it in a different area, and then the people that would normally go there in our hot summers have nowhere to enjoy? The aquatic center is a gem. That makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
So that's unanswered question. Why would you move it? But a dislike as well, right? That's what I would. That's what I would think I heard.
All of the presentation was not factual. I mean, this is a little thing, but they said that in Birmingham, that the parking is free. That is absolutely wrong. I go there at least every other month, and I pay $1.50 for 1 hour. And that's on Woodward between 15 and 16. One more thing. This sounds strange, doesn't it? But he said something about going to buy a loaf of bread. Is there going to be a grocery store in there? I don't think so. Oh, and another thing. If we want to, if we need to go to an appointment for a medical problem, there is already a good system in Troy where we can call whatever it is, and they'll come and pick you up, Medigo, and they'll take you to your appointment. But anyway, like it was set up there, I don't want to be Birmingham. I don't want to be Royal Oak, where all the hippies go. I don't want to be Atlanta. I don't want to be Columbus, like all these places that they told us about. I want to be Troy, where it's safe and where it's quiet.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else have their hand up?
Just a quick to answer the one lady's question on the aquatic center, and I agree with you, that's a terrible location for it, but we do need a new aquatic center because the current one is getting worn out. We'll need heavy reinvestment to keep it running shortly. The aquatic center, in my opinion, should be next to the community center to make it accessible for everybody for those accesses, and then we could repurpose some of the pool area inside the community center and make that into other uses that we have valuable space needed for in our community system today, because the aquatic center could be an indoor-outdoor use one going forward, like so many are in current developments if you look at. So it's a huge opportunity if we're going to move it, invest the money to gain a lot of additional space even within our community center for development going forwards.
So based on that, I just want to reiterate, this plan, I should say this concept, was developed to be changed in a block system. And I need to reiterate the fact that that's what the city council said. Come out here, get ideas from the residents. If you don't like it, that's good too. We want to know. But if you have ideas like that, we also want to know. That's why we have the idea board. So thank you both.
I was on the, I think it was the last futuring group that city council established. The question I've got is, I don't understand why we didn't hear tonight from Mr. Gibbs or from you, sir, any link between that strategy that we developed not too long ago and what he's presenting. Why are we not referencing what all of us citizens did in terms of developing that future for Troy?
It's good. And that's that's come up a couple of times, and I know where's Brian Waddles? He always helps me out. A 2008-4 plan that has been looked at as well and considered for a lot of these. So the other plans have been looked at. So, but that's good. No, that's exactly right. You know, don't let them sit on the shelf. Mark, do you have the copy of that plan? Okay, so Mark Miller has a copy of it. So we'll is it on the internet yet? It's on the internet? It's on the internet on our website. Okay, thanks. All right. Somebody else? I'll get over here.
I just wanted to say that I do support some change to the current layout and structure of it and improving the existing facilities, or rather replacing the existing facilities with much improved ones. My suggestion would be to cluster tightly the various city services so that you have the community center and the aquatic center and the library all in one concentrated area that is most easy to get at, and then the additional services that are provided or the residencies are pushed off to the side so that it is still walkable, but that the locally community-oriented targets are more accessible by the residents who don't live in this complex.
Thank you. And by the way, since I do really enjoy doing this, this is a great forum, but I want to stay on task, so I'm on dislikes. That would have, so then we're going to get to ideas, and then unanswered questions. So if you have a but I love it. I'm not saying anything bad. So I'm on dislikes. There's somebody over here.
Yeah, hello. I just wanted to talk about the chart, population chart that was presented. The population chart that was presented, it didn't make sense for me. He said 1,300 have no car. So for me, if they can't afford a car, how can they afford a house in there? There is nothing for seniors, housing for seniors, and population 20,000, like quarter of the population don't have kids. These people are going to have kids. So I think the chart that was presented, it doesn't make sense. It has nothing to do with the master plan. I don't see any connection.
So the dislike is there's no connection to the master plan. Yep, thank you. While I move this way. I'm on dislikes.
Hi, I have seen like 3-4 cities that you have mentioned in the plans, and I went there many times, but I really didn't like it, and I settled in Troy. And one more thing I didn't see is there is no plan B. Why would we want to use the whole property? Instead, we can just take part of it and build it for the really essential stuff. And I didn't see the renewable energy plan in any of the slides.
Okay. So a dislike and an idea is plan B. I'm making these guys do this.
One dislike that I had was the placement of the Aquatic Center as taking part of the Philip J. Huber Park. I just know that, like, on behalf of me and my friends, that we truly enjoy going there in the summer and sometimes even in the winter, because it's, even though the invasive species are there, it's still a very picturesque location, and it kind of gets you out of like the stresses of everyday life. So I like the park as it is, and I disapprove of like changing it very much.
Good, thank you. Stress gets a little higher.
Hi neighbors, I'm David Bemis, and truly I could go either way on this, and I'll be dead and gone before it happens anyway. But I do have one question in all this proposal, is how are the current hotels in the area doing? Because hotels live and die by occupancy rates, and it seems like that's one of the big factors being pushed is another hotel, and maybe the business isn't there. I don't know.
Good. So that's it's an unanswered question. Thank you, whoever said that. So I'm on dislikes. I'm on dislikes.
My dislike is that since I have moved to Troy for many, 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 many years,
We have always had committees meet every 10 years, 15 years, and make plans. All these plans were made without those things, and you're talking about something that was done, when was it, 2008 or something? That's what I oppose, because we always had city managers who arranged for this to be done, and the people were involved. I haven't even met you or seen you or had you ever answer anything I wrote. So I don't think that this is what we in Troy want. And yes, I am 82 years old, but I expect to live 100 more years.
And I hope you do, and it's nice to meet you. I'll stay after to talk.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Bloomingdale. The thing I dislike is the format of these meetings. It's over on a different board. I'm afraid we're not going to get to it. So what I'd like to suggest to the City Council is that they continue these meetings using the format that was used in the past. For example, there were on most of them, there were 10 to a dozen meetings held in rooms like this. The format I liked especially was there were tables of 10 to 12 people. The people at that table elected the chairman to be a spokesman. Almost all of the city council people were there. Some of the city planners that had input into what the conversation was. The city council members rotated from table to table if there weren't enough to go around. At the end of the meeting, the chairman for that particular table stood up. He was given 5 or 10 minutes to get a consensus of opinion and generally gave the pros and the cons. To me, that is community participation. And I'm going to remind everybody sitting here, somebody a whole lot smarter than I said, democracy is a messy procedure, but it's one that we live in and we need to utilize. Thank you.
Thank you for the idea. That's and we'll, if we have meetings, that will be how it works the next time. I promise you that. So we're on dislikes.
Okay, I'm with her, but okay. I think you're right when you point out that the present use of the Civic Center is perhaps not optimal for various things. I really don't know what the best possible use of the land might be, but what we do have is essentially a monetization of the Civic Center based on one plan drawn by one company, which has clearly a vested interest in the plan. It would seem to me that this may or may not be the best use, but I would much have preferred if the City Council had authorized 2 teams, red and blue teams, 2 different companies, not 2 teams in the same, but 2 or 3 different companies, have a competition. Here's 127 acres. What's the best possible use that you can make that would put Troy on a national map? I'm not sure that parking lots and apartments would do that. But is there some other use to the land? This may, in fact, be the best use. But I'd rather have a choice from experts who figured this out, and then we can sit and talk about it and vote on it.
You're just taking over right there. So I just designed competition, and table will bring me back to your concept. That's why I want to get those down. So dislike.
I have 2 that were up there and you didn't read them. One was, I was at the last meeting and they had mentioned Huber Park, and they said they were going to take out the trees and then replant it, which is ridiculous. And the other thing is, I have 3 sons who are millennials, and I talk to those young men over there. Millennials don't want to live in Troy. They want to live in Royal Oak, Ferndale, Southfield, because that's their community. That's where they want to be. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to bring millennials here.
Good. Okay, that's definitely a dislike. Here you go.
Thanks, Brian. I'm Paul Hof, and real briefly, I know there's not a lot of time tonight, but I saw no concept about cost or financing, and obviously that's important to us. The bond rating you mentioned is very important. So an idea and a dislike, let's include it next time, or if we have some additional meetings.
Great. I'll just start here and work my way back if everyone's all right.
Okay. One of the dislikes I have was the fact that the dislike listing is twice as long as the likes, and you spend twice the time on the likes than on the dislikes. So there are a lot of dislikes that weren't read, that didn't get into the video and the like. And I think the idea of the sticky notes was so people wouldn't have to stand up in public and voice their concerns, especially their dislikes. So I disliked the way that was handled. Another question or dislike that I haven't seen addressed anywhere is bicycles. Yes, we want a walkable community, but it's important to be able to use bicycles. I don't see a single bicycle in any of the renderings. The sidewalks look small, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of walkability. I think it's being whitewashed in a lot of different ways.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Floriane Bichet, and I really like the project. I think we really need an area like that. I have young children, and I love the idea to have a public square. My dislike is the format of those meetings. Again, I think not a lot of young professionals with kids are here, which represent a big portion of the residents in Troy. And maybe via the Troy School District, maybe with the homework package, we could maybe reach out this population, or maybe via Facebook and having, you know, an open forum online, you would have more people participating to those forums.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mariana Parakis. One thing that I dislike is the premise that Troy wants to be Birmingham or downtown Royal Oak or something like that. I think that it's very understated that people who live in Troy want to be here because it is Troy, and we like it for what it is. Going to some other people's comments, you know, we keep talking about how we're trying to attract millennials. Millennials want to be in Chicago. If they want to be in Royal Oak, they can be, and they can commute to Troy, which is a 10-minute drive. This city is not walkable. We all know that. So creating this downtown area like this creates major traffic problems as well as parking issues. I'm not anti-development. I don't mind seeing something happen, but I'd like to personally see it stay public, meaning for the people, meaning, you know, and with all due respect to all the seniors in this room, I do believe that there's a housing crisis, but there's houses being built everywhere, and you know, this doesn't have to be it, not to mention the fact that this doesn't really answer the problem for seniors because it's not geared towards seniors. So this isn't the solution. And I'd like to see it stay very public with libraries, parks, farmers markets, things that bring the community together to be together. It doesn't need to be a place for people to live in a congested area.
I agree. I like what you said. My name is Rocky Rutschkowski, and one of the reasons why my family moved to Troy, and we love Troy, is because it's Troy. And we live on McClure, which abuts to or comes off onto Big Beaver. And one of the things that I look at is density. That's number one. When you put a lot of density in an area like that with Big Beaver and Livernois as the only two outlets, you're talking about the traffic jams that we had between Thanksgiving and Christmas that many of you know on Big Beaver that are just astronomical, and we've got wait lines on McClure, on Alpine, on all those streets. They're just it becomes very dense, and you're putting a lot of density into a small area that is not Troy. I echo the fact that I moved here not because of Birmingham. It's not Birmingham. It's not Royal Oak. We moved here because we loved Troy and what Troy was. Let's redevelop Troy to be a modern city. That doesn't mean that we have to put in a Disneyland type atmosphere on this. And lastly, one of the things that I dislike is I dislike spending our kids' money. And I really dislike the taxes and the amount of cost that this may put on the citizens for redeveloping our city infrastructure.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Thank you for all those comments. I'm sure everybody understands what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to read every single dislike. Do not want woods change, prefer big park instead of development. Where does the new school go for the extra people? We want to vote on this. Will the public be allowed to vote on this development project? Why do we need hotel? Why do we need hotel? Troy needs to encourage business to use the current vacant buildings. Open space is not underutilized. It is calming and good for the eyes. Why should we, I read that one, subsidize developers. So I read that. As a banker that finances commercial and residential development, we see that residential and retail have peaked. This puts Troy in a very large project in a risky position. Who funds any tax incentives to the developer? I don't like the multi-story parking as in Royal Oak. I like Midtown Square, ground level close to the stores. Vacant commercial, Oakland Mall. I will not tolerate any changes to Philip J. Huber Park. I dislike the whole project. Read that one. Why not develop the old Kmart Headquarters or other vacant locations for this development? Okay, there you got that. The developments in downtown Detroit will be able to outfinance, outmarket, and out-hustle what Troy is able to produce. Failed Pontiac development in Pontiac, bankrupt, lots of litigation, still underdeveloped. Worst possible place to move the Aquatic Center should be moved to beside the community center, freeing up the pool space inside the community center to use it for other needed activities we can't do today. We need green space. Why would you mix homes and shopping in the same place? Not smart. Suggesting to build 25 cottage homes neighboring to existing Westwood Park subdivision. This layout will have better view with second floor homes at Westwood Park to cottage to 3-floor townhomes to multi-level apartments. Leave Huber Park alone. Leave the Aquatic Center alone. Okay, so this was, if this Gibbs is so good, then why doesn't plan around the Aquatic Center? Aquatic Center is a gem in Troy. What are the residents supposed to do for summer fun? Stupid. Why in the world would you move a $20 million aquatic center and rebuild it at today's prices? That is so ridiculous. Why is this not being done I read that one. If you don't have a car, call the public transportation. Cheap rides in Troy for handicap. That's the Medigo. Walkability, we would still have to drive to the development if we didn't live there. How many people in this room walks? Where could you get that loaf of bread? Is there going to be a grocery store? We don't want vibrant. We want peace and quiet, not more activity. All parking is not free in Birmingham. Problem. For the majority of the citizens who will not be living in the new development, we will still have to drive there to use the restaurants. Unused parking lot by Rollerblade Arena. Have volunteers spray for ice skating. Dislike the rental cost. Did that one. What is wrong with the current aquatic center? Did that one. In 2004, residents overwhelmingly rejected development of the Civic Center. That is less than 20 years ago. Why do you think things have changed? Why would you build new hotels when there are several hotels in Troy that just did not make it? Seems like a land giveaway. Moving the pool next to a freeway will create way too much noise and debris in the pool. Children in the pool will never be able to hear parents calling them, then people won't go. You forgot to mention the part about taking out all the trees in Huber Park and replanting them. Green acres, good. Alternative unique businesses, good. Hotel, good. 1,000+ new homes, no. Already congested. Not aesthetic, not an attraction. Problematic, tax situation. Residents have been willing or able to pay for it. Residents aren't willing and able to pay for it, I think is the point. Failure to integrate community. Why replicate hotel restaurants that are so close? Instead, have more housing and make access to existing businesses, reward and support what we have. Density, do we have maximum density? Walking, auto interaction, Partridge Creek and universities put parking on outside. You walk to safe separation of cars and people. Flying, I read that one. Pool, because of the geese. Too many apartments, more homes needed. Skate park, what and how much parking will there be for the general Troy population who don't live there, who will own the land? I understand that Huber Park was deeded to remain parkland. This plan shows development of the Aquatic Center. Why is another hotel proposed? We are running out of open space due to private owner development. We need to preserve the open campus of the Civic Center. Leave Troy as is. The majority of the residents do not want this. This concept will not attract young people to move to Troy. They will likely not be able to afford it. What sort of input did you have from prospective developers? I read that one. What is it? Walking winter in Michigan? Oh, we have winter in Michigan, pure Michigan. Question, how does this dovetail with Troy futuring? This seems too much like an island. Don't see any overall design theme. Is everybody okay with what I've read for the dislikes? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Why is there commercial development on public land?
So that's a dislike. It's not a question. It's just no development on public land. That's good. Okay, I'm going to do ideas. I would like to suggest that the City Council vote to continue these meetings using the format used in the past that facilitated citizen participation. Fix roads and sewers first before any Civic Center project. Example, Big Beaver, too many holes. 48 water main, I can't read it. Based on transit deal, do not get into a complex deals with a developer. The city should not pay for any infrastructure on a project. Sell the land, do not lease the land. Public transition, major roads to get to the other place. Why is this being proposed without agreement of the voters? The Fed is going to demand lowest housing. It is not shown. Low cost housing, sorry. Include recreational facilities if you're serious about making this useful for seniors. I heard library basement may need major repair. Now would be the good time to make these changes too. Library replacement, one of the oldest structures on the property, constant usage, current resources stretched. Please include group homes for disabled adults. My son lives in one in downtown Rochester. I would love to bring him back home to his lifelong community, Troy. I-75 divides Troy. Is there a way to tie all the new development west of I-75 to this new plan? Not just a bridge to, I was thinking troubled waters myself. Maybe large burn with, I can't read it. Need to complete sidewalk in all areas of the city, missing along streets in many areas. Look into senior citizen playgrounds. They exist in England. They include fun, enriching, ergonomic, safe recreational devices for the elderly. Kids tend to join them. With 14,000 seniors, why no senior center? community center is really a business center. Way too much traffic created. No commercial entities on Civic Center land. No parking deck. Too late for a downtown center. Won't fit in with all the high-rise office buildings. As a senior citizen, I want affordable housing, not apartments or townhouses. I'd like to see ranch-type condos that I can afford. What if a citizen has a different vision for the Civic Center and has his or her master plan? Would you listen to her ideas, and who should she contact? And you already contacted me. I think I gave you my card, right? There she is. Thanks. Troy schools are in better condition than Royal Oak or Birmingham, maybe because of housing type. Can we promote walkability by copying the Ann Arbor concept of always activated walk signals? Don't need to drive, push button, impossible wait on extra light cycle. Instead, the walk light will always be on when you can walk. Would like to see new library go vertical, 4 or 5 stories, like Southfield and Rochester Hills Library. Not just an addition, make new. Taxes from this project to fund bond issue to pay for the new library. I know nature adheres in a vacuum, but please think long and hard before you develop this property. More green space, people who can afford to live in this utopia will want to bear out of their, I can't read it. Put this on Kmart property. Okay, anybody want to talk about ideas, new ideas? Okay.
Hi, I'm Janos Dimitriou. I'm a senior at Troy High. I think, while I personally don't usually support development in open spaces, I think that most people at my school would like to have this. And everyone always complains that there's nothing to do in Troy and that you always have to go far away. And they say that they don't like anything here, and that's why they want to leave after college. So I think that this is something that Troy needs. And while there are some things that can be fixed, like the Aquatic Center and traffic and all that, I think that this should just be worked out and it should happen.
Thank you. I'm on new ideas.
Hi, so I'm Peyton Young, and I'd just like to say that I think that overall this idea has good potential, but I do agree that in certain instances, like the Aquatic Center, should not be moved, and especially for me, I think that we should focus on our library some more. I feel that the current library we have is very inadequate compared to other cities. This is a huge gripe of school kids at Troy High, and we usually end up going to a different city's library. So I feel that when we could possibly spend the money on this, part of that could be used to hopefully revamp our current library.
Thank you. I was walking this way. Okay.
It's already been said, you know, more focus on single-story homes. Nobody's mentioned possibly a senior care center. It's a shame that something like Stonecrest across Livernois wasn't considered for the Civic Center area. That wouldn't create a lot of traffic. It would meet seniors' needs, you know, something on that order. If we could focus more on the housing that doesn't create a lot of traffic, maybe a little bit of minimal commercial little shops perhaps, like the presenter said, so you can go and get a sandwich or something when you're at the library, whatever, take a little walk around. But ideas that keep the traffic impact way, way down. You already said no hotel.
Okay, okay, thank you. So new ideas. New ideas? I'm going to go on to, oh, I'm sorry.
I honestly think this smacks of the opportunity that could come from having another futuring activity. I really strongly object to small micromanaging, and I think this is micromanaging within the greater city of Troy. Whereas if we did have a futuring group, again, like we've had in the past, what, Cindy, maybe 3 or 4 times we've done this. And it's every, what, 10 years, every 5 years? In 4. So that's, yeah, 14 years ago, it's time. It's time for another futuring activity. And Brian, I think you wouldn't have any problem with that, would you? Mr. Miller? Okay.
But I'm gonna put it as a new idea, as restart futuring discussions, right?
Hi. This is more relevant to this. I think you guys should probably advertise these meetings more, because the first I really heard of this was through my AP government class, and I think you can probably see a lot more demographics, or a lot more young people, or maybe people in their 20s, 30s coming and taking part in this, or because I'm sure a lot of the people coming here have probably been coming here the last couple of years. Have been part of this process for many years and are very, engaged in it. And I think you could probably get a lot more voices, a lot more ideas, the same or new, if you just kind of spread the word a little more, because I never knew of this.
Perfect. So that's what that board's for. Tell us how to reach you and reach young people. It's a really good, it's a great point, and he really raised another point. How many people are here for the first time that did not attend any other session since all summer? So there are a lot of people who are new to the process. That's reassuring to me, to be honest. And so then one person tells 3 more. Toby?
I've been listening to everybody tonight, and one of our options for an idea is to do nothing. We have the ability to do nothing if we want to. I was born and raised here. This was farmland when I was growing up. One of the things that our city has done a nice job of, and our council members, I think, is growing, and growing in a smart way. There's some good ideas on the table that need to be listened to and done, but to be stagnant is not a great thing. Costs are going up, taxes are going up. Our city has done a great job of growing, and we need to continue to grow in a smart way. We don't have a downtown, we're looking at it. The green space around here is not used. No one can tell me that it is. Everybody is a fan of jobs until it affects us. This is going to create jobs. I've worked my butt off to make this, to grow in my area, and I think we need to consider this and keep an open mind, and I hope everybody has that idea.
Okay, thank you. New ideas? Going once? Going twice? Hold on, we have to have the microphone though. We have to, we're taping it.
The big, huge signs that I see are not lit up yet. Are they going to be lit up soon, or what are we doing with those signs?
So she wants to know the billboard signs that haven't been lit up yet, are they going to be lit up? And I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah. Well, can I just stay to the topic here around the town center? Unanswered questions? There you go. All right, so will this concept be accommodating a 4th season? I am out of the area for summer, and I'd like to use the area in winter. Will the walkways be cleared of snow? I didn't see any parking concept, assuming since Birmingham Royal Oak have parking issues, this concept will include multi-level parking decks, free 2-hour parking, ? I didn't notice any parking for the housing concepts, garages, or would there be parking structures to accommodate the tenants along with the visitors? Living on Kirk Lane with all the additional traffic both ways, how will we be able to get in or out of our subdivision? Also access to the community center, ? How will sufficient parking be contained for civic buildings and visitors for those who do not live in the civic center? Can you add elements, i.e. skating rink from 2004 plan, in order to maintain activity levels in the public realm during winter months? How would sufficient water flow be maintained in the proposed drain pond to make the feature attractive and consistent throughout the year? Who is going to profit from all of this? Detailed timeline of all events related to this project, the dates, reports, etc. Town halls, where did they occur, and what was covered? How much has been spent for all of the items? Travel, cost of reports, cost for consultants. We need a complete document, and we can see how this project is occurring. Village of Rochester is not the idyllic development you keep portraying. Constant stop-start with people, car interaction. Whether in a car or walking, it's uncomfortable in comparison. Rendering makes it look very dense. I'm still not clear on senior housing, apartments, elevators, condos. Will residents vote on final concept, or does City Council make final go decision? The negative people who are terrified of change make me want to move out of Troy. Today's Civic Center is a joke. Buy more land or lawns, or something about the lawns. Great project, just ask just what we need. It seems that not a lot of young professionals with young children are involved. Maybe we could make them more aware of it via Troy Public School with homework email, because they're probably very supportive of a project like that. Why do you hire and plan Troy change? There's nothing to hear the owners of Troy neighborhoods for 3D years. How does it, I can't read it. The current attraction for Troy residents are schools and open space. We choose not to live in Birmingham or Royal Oak. So why does the current government feel we need a congested city center? Who will be responsible for maintaining the retention pond to ensure it does not get choked with invasive Phragmites? Have you thought about all the traffic? If you want to take your family, possibly on bikes, how are they going to get these crossing over Big Beaver? Skywalk would be needed. This is a dislike. Too much of my money spent on study. Don't want the project, period. What is the plan for adequate parking in the proposed town center? Is there a commitment to a vote of the people before the project is started? Walkability. What will it cost for upkeep for all this fussy green space? Has there been research done on if there is demand for mid-rise apartments in Troy? Need some percentage of low-income housing, similar to what is done in Detroit, not just housing for middle to and upper income folks. What's in it for Troy? Do the two main drives, Town and Civic Center, need to be like 4 lanes each way to handle all the traffic for this to be a success? What is the vision and motivations that is driving this development plan? How many families, people, and as a percentage of Troy's population would live within this walkable urban town center? There are several new hotels along Big Beaver Stevenson. Are more hotel rooms needed? There has been no input in the original planning by the average citizen. Why not? Our leaders do not know what the average family or seniors need. What is this going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? What happens if it flops? What would the cost of upkeep be for the parks? Troy will never be truly walkable, so people will need to drive to this town center. Will these be adequate parking? And how will the increase in traffic be handled? Who would pay for the building maintenance? City or individual and home unit owner? Will the city make money on this project, or will it cost the city money? What type of retail? Residents are already fighting commercial apartment developments in neighborhoods. How to pay for community area improvements? What is the timeline to complete this development? Are there phases? If so, what are they? Will land be sold off? Where would the development funding come from? Who pays for the lake and drain improvements? Is parking by decks? With all the retail and housing together, how is parking noise going to be handled? What metrics demonstrate need for a hotel and 100,000 retail? Is there planned parking structures for visitors who don't live there? Where do citizens who do live there park? There's no forecast given to us regarding the tax impact to residents and to be existing businesses be transparent. How much will it cost short and long term? At what point does city lose input to changes after developers are involved? No more transit fiascos. What is the large street project city has undertaken? Anything close to 300? Oh, the largest project city has undertaken. Anything close to 350 million. What concepts of universal design have been applied to assure accessibility, function for people with mobility, and for cognitive challenges? How to pay for community area improvement? Square foot of Civic Center, square foot of Civic Square area. How much will the cottage homes cost? Are they one floor? Good session, need more at times, the more talks can attend. Weekends, not 6 o'clock on a weekday when it's difficult to attend after a long day at work. Are Troy residents going to have the opportunity to vote on all this? How will the library be integrated into the plan? Why do we need another hotel? Does higher density equal higher crime? 30,000 acre in Troy, 127 acre Civic Center. People are going to drive to the area. Parking? Question mark. Will residents be able to vote on a selection of the development plans or on a yes/no development plan? Will the city purchase comparable square footage of green space elsewhere to replace what is being sold given to commercial residential development? What are the invasive species in Huber Park? If so bad, why hasn't it been addressed already? 850 houses equals 2,400 people, 80,000 plus in Troy now. Why sell off our land? Keep seeing words master plan and words community deciding, then what would be the need for developer input or decisions to influence the plan? How does the city make money on this? You mentioned showed two plans. Does the more moderate plan have opportunity for expansion? Will it crowd schools, traffic issues, ratio of apartments to homes? If you live in the newer town center, don't you still need a car to get to work? Probably work is outside the town center. How long to build once approved? Priorities for what gets developed first. Who would be responsible to maintain the open spaces? Where does that money come from for it? Traffic, getting in and out, impossible. How? How many areas will be sold or leased? How will purchase price be determined? Who will own parking and structures? Why want to attract, I quote, young people without car in debt that can only rent? Why? Okay, that's unanswered questions. Who wants to talk on unanswered questions? Okay.
Thanks. My name is Tom Wadowik. My wife and I have lived in the city for 20 years. And the unanswered question that I had is what are the problems that we're trying to solve with the town center? It's not very clear. What are the goals or the objectives for Troy that this town center concept would address? Because that's what people get behind, right? If it solves a problem, then we're behind that. But I haven't been able to understand. Is it jobs? I heard it'll bring jobs. It'll make us look more like Birmingham or Royal Oak. Well, we go there for those. So what's the problem that we're trying to address, right?
Can I take that from you? Is it that one too? Or is that different? Oh, that was repeated. Okay, thanks. All right, good one. All right, so unanswered questions?
I've not heard anybody talk about the possible impact this increased high density might have on things like our fire department, and what is a tipping point where we are going to have to pay a full-time fire department. There's been signs up trying to recruit more volunteer firefighters, and there's got to be a point at which we're going to have to fund that. And also the negative impact of the police station. I don't understand with this high density proposed how the police are going to get in and out when they need to, just in their daily business, and if there's a massive emergency, how in the world are they going to get in and out of this area? And the other thing that would be unanswered is the impact on people visiting things like the court and the police department. It's very stressful situations when you're visiting those places. And to have this high density, I mean, how is this improvement? I don't understand how we're going to keep from people being totally stressed out on these situations, and it just doesn't seem like a good idea. Thank you for listening.
Good, thank you. So impact on police and fire. What is the impact on police and fire?
You discussed leasing, the city leasing some of this property. Is that to hotels, or we would still be the leaseholder? Then what kind of potential liability does that create for us?
Good, so the unanswered question is, how's the land deal going to work, right? Leasing, selling, that kind of thing. That's the unanswered question. That's good.
I'll speak at the right time this time. My question is, why hasn't this happened sooner? I've been coming to Troy to visit friends, to come to the library since I was 9. I came to this library not because it was my favorite library, not because it was a particularly enjoyable library. I have a degree as a librarian. I love libraries, and I've been to many. The best thing about the library is the selection. Now it's gotten much, much better. The staff is wonderful. The programming they offer is better, but the facility is, quite frankly, terrible. I hate that building, and I have since I was 9. It is the worst library visually, structurally in the area, and I would love to see that happen. Why hasn't this development to improve the walkability, the friendliness, the library and the other community facilities, not counting the Civic Center or the Aquatic Center, happened sooner, not pushed back? Why not sooner?
Good, so why hasn't the library been taken care of and improved? And
this goes along with the library. We have a library we can't even keep open full time. And now we're talking about expanding it under this program. I'd like to see the library open full time, and then we can talk about expanding it. Let's see that they're really serious about this.
okay, so question is, why not open the library for 7 days a week, right? Okay, unanswered questions?
I know my handwriting's not good. I did the question about universal design, and I've studied universal design, and it is a critical thing in this kind of planning. One of the things that this has the potential to do by requiring less mobility is make Troy more residentially friendly to people who have declining vision skills, declining hearing, who aren't able to drive on their own. I've been to cities like Portland, Oregon, where their transportation system is a master example of universal design and user friendliness to the widest variety of people. And I look at this and I don't see that. To me, it would be much more logical to put the Aquatic Center over next to the community center. I'm scared to death of the pond. That some little kid or somebody drinking in one of the bars, if we have bars here, is going to go. Every year you hear people walking on lakes when it's 45 degrees out. So that I think it would, that is dead space. I work in this building. I am in here and around, and we walk over to the library. We walk, having the Aquatic Center here, I think would be a much more unified system, and make it, and then maybe do some other recreational. You know, I heard the discussion about adult level equipment outside, you know, playground type equipment. But when you're looking at that, look at also making it accessible to people with limited mobility, limited vision, limited hearing. And when you incorporate all of those concepts, it tends to make it better for everyone.
Very well said. Okay. Unanswered questions? Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you all for coming. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to put a report together just as soon as we can get all these comments put in the computer. So if you did have trouble writing and I couldn't read it, I think the people back in the office will be able to do a much better job than me. So that'll go to the city council meeting, and at some point, and we haven't done this yet, the city council will have to talk about what the next step is and at what meeting they're going to do that. But what the charge and the direction from the city council was to come get everyone's feedback. And if there are other ways to get feedback and engage, we're very open to it, and I appreciate that. And then how to get the information out, or the word out about what we're talking about in these meetings. So great session. Thank you all for coming. You did it in 2 hours.